Anxiety at work is practically a badge of honor in many high achieving environments. You're praised for staying up late to double check the deck or constantly monitoring your inbox just in case. But here's the truth. While some anxiety can help you perform better, too much of it, as you already know, will wreck your productivity, your confidence, and your health. So how do you know when your anxiety is helpful and when it's just running you ragged? Today, we'll break down the difference, the psychology behind it, and a simple, really quick strategy I have. It's a quick 5 steps to get back in the driver's seat when anxiety shows up at work. I'm going to give you nitty-gritty exactly what to do, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Workplace Therapy with me, Dr. Abby Metcalf. And I knew the first season I had to talk about anxiety. And of course, on the Relationships Made Easy podcast, I go deep into anxiety and rumination, all kinds of things. But I have got the best little process for you today and such a good free download. So let's get to it. It's a change your life episode. I hope they all are. But I know this is a big claim, Abby. But yeah, I feel like this is really a change your life episode. Because I've been using this with my clients for a little while now, and and myself, and it's super effective. Okay, so yes, some work anxiety is actually helpful. Anxiety isn't always a problem, and from really an evolutionary standpoint, anxiety is your brain's alarm system. I want you to remember that. It kicks in when there's a potential danger or uncertainty, so you can prepare, you can protect, or perform. And at work, there is healthy anxiety at work, and it shows up as things like, nervous energy before a big meeting. It kind of motivates you to prepare, feeling on edge before a deadline that sort of pushes you to focus, being concerned about how your work will be received because you care. And I always say you want to care about what people think and not worry about what they think, right? And therein lies the difference. So the research shows that this type of kind of moderate anxiety really improves things like your alertness, your motivation, your task performance, especially when you're doing complex tasks that require a lot of attention to detail. That's known as adaptive anxiety, which is really stress that's in proportion to the situation and it serves a purpose. That makes sense, right? And it's also supported by something we psychologists call the Yerkes-Dodson law. And it's a really well-established principle in psychology. It shows that performance increases with physiological or mental arousal, but only up to a point. Only up to a point. So someone's throwing the Yerkes-Dodson law at you, it's like, yeah, but there's a threshold. Because once you move past that optimal threshold, things really start to go sideways, without a doubt. But because most workplace anxiety isn't helping you. So where anxiety becomes toxic is when it's constant, when it's out of proportion, when it starts driving your decisions. This is where we move into what we psychologists call maladaptive anxiety, when your stress response becomes chronic, habitual, or fear-based, right? When that's happening. So some common signs your work anxiety is hurting you. I just in case you're wondering where you fall, over preparing to the point of, paralysis and you still feel unready. And maybe some analysis paralysis takes over, but you're so over prepared you still feel like you're not ready. You avoid giving feedback or speaking up because you're afraid of conflict. So even when it's really important to you or your job or your team, you have such a hard time. If you're obsessing over, Slack messages or emails or and ruminating on tone and wording, again, ruminating over and over. Another way it's toxic is if you agree to tasks or timelines you don't have the capacity for because you're afraid, but you do it anyway because you're afraid of being perceived as lazy or uncommitted, even though that is so far from what's real. If you procrastinate and then punish yourself for procrastinating, these are all signs of it being really toxic. And these kind of patterns, decrease job performance and job satisfaction over time. And chronic anxiety has been associated with impaired decision making, reduced creativity, emotional exhaustion, lower productivity, all from the research. So, and as if that's not bad enough, it also affects your physical health. Research shows that persistent anxiety, it activates the something called your HPA axis. I'm probably going to say it's I got to remember the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal. I'll have it right in the show notes. Yeah, I should have looked this up before. I know it's the HPA axis. It's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal. I know there's some MDs listening right now laughing at me, so stop. Or nurses or nurse practitioners or other people. But the HPA axis, right, when that's activated and that leads to elevated cortisol levels, you get increased inflammation, immune suppression. It's bad. And that's, one of the reasons why if you're super anxious all the time, you get sick a lot. I get, not exactly ideal for the big pitch, right? Doesn't work. And there's obviously a psychology of why this happens. Your anxiety at work isn't random. It's the result of both your biology and your past experiences. And neurologically, anxiety is tied to amygdala activity, prefrontal cortex regulation, which I speak about all the time, right? Your amygdala, the fear part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, where hopefully all your good thinking and strategizing happens. So when you perceive a threat, real or imagined, your amygdala fires off an alert and your body prepares for fight, flight, or freeze, depending on you. But when this system is overactive, you respond, let's say, to a critical email the same way your ancestors responded to a bear in the woods kind of thing. And that's bad. Okay. It's not the same. So cognitively, people with high workplace anxiety often experience something we psychologists call intolerance of uncertainty. And that I see that with people, I think it's one of the bigger issues just facing society today. Basically, you become hypersensitive to any ambiguity, to any uncertainty, to mistakes, or any potential negative outcome. And that leads to excessive checking, reassurance seeking, rumination. Are you sitting there going, this is me, Abby. You are talking to me. And you might also be dealing with learned behaviors, perfectionism, reinforced by praise, right? People pleasing, probably tied to some early experiences of conditional approval in your house, trauma responses that show up as hypervigilance and performance, that kind of thing. So hopefully, again, this is probably really hitting home. So I'm going to give you a quick process to handle any anxiety, but certainly work anxiety in real time. And because you don't need to eliminate anxiety. That's not even possible. You want to learn how to respond to it more intentionally. That's what we're doing here. So it's a quick 5-step strategy, and it's grounded in research from things like emotional regulation, cognitive behavioral therapy, self-compassion research, and it'll help you find balance and peace again. Okay. So here we go. Ready? 5 steps. And they're quick, and you're going to be able to, I named them in my cute, how I like to name things cute, right? We all know that. We all know I love that. So they all start with N. The letter N is in Nancy, okay? So step 1, you're going to name it. That's the first step, is awareness. Instead of powering through, you're going to pause and say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now. We know labeling your emotional state activates the prefrontal cortex. It reduces your amygdala reactivity. It helps you calm down. I know it's so simple, so you think it's not going to work, and it works. I'm guaranteeing you. Look at that. All your money back. I guarantee I guarantee, use the whole system, but I'm telling you, it's going to work at least a little, but it's going to work a lot with the whole little system I have here. It's also important to remember to say that you're feeling something, not that you are something. So it's not I'm anxious, it's I'm feeling anxiety, right? I'm feeling nervous, or I have a feeling of anxiety, however you want to say that. And this is a research-based approach called self-distancing. And it really, what it does when you name the emotion or emotions like this, it's very effective in creating space between you and your feelings. So that lessens the anxiety overall. And it also it lessens how deep it is, how much anxiety you feel and how long it lasts. It's really, if you only did this one step, you would see improvement. Okay. This anxiety isn't a fact, right? I don't need to act on it immediately. You could say to yourself something like that in that moment, but just name the feeling. 2 is, so name it, then neutralize it. So it's impossible to move. And this is where people miss. Let me just say this. This is the key right here. It's impossible to move forward if you're feeling paralyzed. Naming the emotion again is a start, but if you're triggered, then your biology is ruling and you can't access, right? So that means your amygdala is running the show and you can't access the part of your brain telling you to calm down. So, right, that's why later you go, oh, why didn't I say that? You're face palming, right? Why didn't I say this? Or why did I say that? Or that, why couldn't I? Oh, yeah, right. I should have just blah, blah, blah. You can't access that in the moment because that part of your brain, it's like it's shut off, right? So the biology. So now you need to neutralize or unhook your brain's fear system. And this is the part that I find gets skipped over way too much. This is so key. When your nervous system takes over, AKA you're triggered in some way, you're not going to remember or use any tool you've learned, even my wonderful, wonderful Abby tools. So my download for today is a free workplace grounding toolkit. Right? I'm going to give you 5 nervous system resets you can do at your desk in under 2 minutes. Okay? Under 2 minutes. And you can download the toolkit on my website, abbymetcalf.com. Look for this episode or under the video if you're watching on YouTube. How do you like that? That's it. So an example of one of them is like a double inhale. That's probably the most effective of all of them. And a double inhale is just when you inhale in your through your nose, and then when you get to the very top, you take another like sip of air. So it's like a little extra sniff at the top, and then slowly, as slow as possible, exhale through your mouth, and you will. I feel different just now because my energy is up as I'm doing these. So name it, neutralize it. Now you're going to normalize it. Step 3, we know from the self-compassion research that normalizing something will help you calm down and realize that really, just like most people, you're not broken. You're not broken. So now you'd say something to yourself or out loud, like, anyone would feel anxious at least a little if they had to speak in front of a lot of people, or it's normal. It makes sense that I'm feeling so much anxiety, given that I grew up in a house where if I made one mistake, I was punished or I was ridiculed. Do you see that? You normalize it. You just normalize it. Anyone would feel X when Y happens. Okay? Telling you, right? So now we've named it, we've neutralized it, we have normalized it, and now we're going to notice the narrative. Okay? And this is what all cognitive behavioral research is based on, or cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. We know, and this is, one of the most evidence-based approaches we have. We know that when you can change the meaning or point of view of your thinking, you can and will drastically change how you feel about something because you feel the way you think. So the way to change that anxiety is to start thinking differently about the situation. So now you're going to ask yourself something like, my favorite is, what's the story I'm telling myself about this? It's a story. It is a story. My story is that my boss hates me. Is that really true? It might be. Is it helpful to think? No. Okay. Is it helping me? It's not helping me. It's making me paralyzed. What's the story I'm telling myself is that I'm going to mess up and everyone's going to laugh at me. Is that really going to happen? I don't know. Bob from accounting might laugh, but he's an idiot. I don't even like him. Why do I care if he laughs? No, all my friends are there. I'm going to be supported. I don't know. But what is the story you're telling yourself? Or what else could be true about what's happening right now? I walked in, my boss didn't smile at me. She looked up and there was she even gave me a weird look. What else could be true is she has a stomach ache and she doesn't feel good. What else could be true is she's thinking of something completely different. It has nothing to do with me. She barely noticed me. She wasn't even clocking that I came in because she's caught up in something in her own life, right? Again, we're changing the point of view, okay? Changing it. And then the fifth step is to navigate it. So that's the last thing you need to do, right? You have to navigate or move yourself towards something healthier. So you've done the steps. What's next is really, so now I'm going to go into the meeting and talk about my new idea. Now I'm going to speak to my coworker about what upset me. Now I'm going to take a quick walk outside to clear my head. Now I'm going to do a quick meditation at my desk to reset. Do you see? You can also ask yourself, one of my favorite questions is, what would I do if I trusted myself here? What would my next action be if I trusted myself? And then do that thing. I don't care how small, especially if it's uncomfortable. And this helps retrain your brain to see values-based action as safe and effective, to see, that you listen to yourself, that you take yourself seriously. It really helps train your brain, which is huge. And the research here, a lot of it is from acceptance and commitment therapy, also called ACT therapy, ACT. It's called ACT therapy sometimes, but that's therapy twice. It's acceptance and commitment therapy. And the research from there shows that acting in alignment with your values, even when you're anxious, will lead to reduced psychological distress and improves your workplace resilience. How do you like that? I know. Pretty good, huh? So I'm going to reply to this email directly, not dance around what I need, even if my hands are shaking. This is what might happen here. Okay, so let me say some final thoughts. You can be anxious and still be effective. You don't need to feel confident all the time before you take action. You don't need to wait until the anxiety goes away. You just need to be clear about what you care about and brave enough to act on it. Okay, anxiety doesn't have to run your day. It really doesn't. When you learn to name it, neutralize it, you're really decoding it, but normalizing it, noticing the narrative, navigating it, and even doing any of those steps. If you just did one of them, it would shift. If you did two of them, it would shift more. I mean, the more you can do, the better of the 5. But if you just named it and neutralized it, you would feel different. Do you see that? Because you're coming from your values instead of your fears. You're showing up for yourself. You're showing up with more clarity, confidence, with integrity, even if your stomach is flip-flopping. All right? And again, to put today's lesson into action, I have this every week on this podcast. You want to grab the Workday Grounding Toolkit. It's 5 nervous system resets you can do at your desk in under 2 minutes. I mean, I can't do much more than that. I was really excited about how this all fit together today. All right, that is it. I'm telling you, I've been using this for a while with my clients, and I've kind of put this together in this newer way for the last probably 6 months, because I'm always trying to help people with their anxiety and have something at the ready, like right there that you can take and apply and feel different. And this really works. All right, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you real soon.